Looking at the prices of commodities in Nigeria, with the skyrocketing rates, it just keeps increasing over time. What are your first thoughts about it?
Thank you very much, Chiamaka. I want us to have a way back to COVID era when the whole world was shut down. Our calamity started daring when it was difficult for the global world to move foods around the globe. It got compounded with the problem of Russia, Ukraine, and some other unrest that we are having globally. And it led to what some of us have actually been agitating for, that after COVID, a lot of people went back to the country to see how they can domesticate and grow things. But in this part of the world, it is pretty difficult because of some of the challenges that we have. And that has been the major contributor to what we are seeing, going by what you had in your prologue and it's in the public space, that the food inflation has risen above 33%. And if you even do the ordinary arithmetic, where you were talking about the drinks that we consume, you can see that moving from 200 to 300, that's more or less like 50%. And that's what we have experienced globally across in the country when we talk of foods and consumables. It's not far-fetched. The major problem of importing some of the things has been on the high side because of our foreign exchange and because we have refused to domesticate some of the things we can even produce locally because of the level of insecurity that we are experienced with, and we've not been producing anything. So these are some of the factors that are responsible for the increase in prices. The country where we reside, dominantly, we have this issue of importing practically everything we consume. It will shock you that we now have imported bread into the country, when I know that I grew up to know, if you allow me, agege bread in Lagos, which is local, and you can take it with some of those things. But these days, we are all importing basically things that can be produced, and those that are actually producing them locally do not have the muscle because of the increase in the cost of operation of basically everything. Remember, this time last year, we're buying bread for about 500, and as we speak, bread, which is the common food for a common man that we can use to take care while going, and you are good for the day, now goes for about 1,500, and that is even above a daily income for the minimum wage. If you divide the minimum wage by 30,000 that we have, by even the 20 working days, if you are going to fast for the remaining 10 days, is just the money that you use to buy only the bread. Then what will you use to take it? So it's because we are bedeviled with certain challenges, which is insecurity, because as a nation, we are blessed with all the fruit crops we can talk about. We can even go the extra mile, utilizing the capital, the human capital that we have to process some of these things. But because there is no political will and the insecurity on itself is bedeviling us with where we are today, depending majorly on imported foods.
Much, Mr. Sesson. Now, looking at this cost of drinks, soft drinks in Nigeria. In Lagos, for instance, we have some parts, that still sell for 250, while others sell for 300. Is there anybody that can, any organization or anybody basically that can regulate these prices to ensure that they are uniform? And what exactly is leading to this, this lack of uniformity in prices?
Yeah, well, when it talks to lacks of uniformity, it's about location. Let me start. You're talking about 200, 300. I took one over the weekend in a particular location for 1,000 naira. And I had no option than to pay because of the location where I was. I'm sure you know at times some of those drinks that you take cost about 1,500, 1,700, depending on the place where you're consuming it. You see, Chiamaka, for me, it's not about drinks now. We should even talk of food. You see, some of those drinks you're talking about are luxury that you use. The common thing that is common to every one of us is water. I'm sure you know the cost of water these days. It's no longer 100 naira we used to buy. I think it's about 150, 200, depending on the brand, even 300, depending on the brand that you are buying. But you ask yourself, before you even take soft drink, I think the first thing you should consider is drinking water. Health-wise, it's been advised that it's more okay than drinking all those soft drinks. But if you want to ask me, I think we need to concentrate more on reducing the cost of food. At least those days we always talk of 111. We have moved to 101. And I think as we speak, it has turned to 010. People don't eat in the morning. You look at the time, there's around 12 or 1, you consume, and that will sustain you for the day because of the high cost of food that we are currently talking about. I think the area we need to focus on is that nobody can regulate the price of some of those commodities because it's a function of the area where you're speaking from. I'm sure you know the cost of renting a shop in the mainland is different from what you will rent on the mainland. And those are part of the things that you need to factor in when you are pricing your product as a shop owner or a business enterprise. So it's about location, and wherever you find yourself, you need to ask, where are you? Is this something you can buy lower or higher? But I think that we should be more intentional in the area of providing more food. Food is of a high necessity. We can all drink water. It's not compulsory that you take bottled water. Sachet water is very good and is very cheap to eat. But the food must be available, not you drinking water or drinking those soft drinks. So government should be intentional in making sure that those areas where we consider the food basket of the state are more secure for people to produce foods that we can consume. And not just that alone, when you produce it, the ease of transporting it. Kudos to some of the initiative that we have in the rail system of moving things, how we can expand the scope in such a way that we'll reduce the pressure that we have in terms of the lorries that move on the road, and use the train system to move some of these things to the nearby places where the lorries can now pick them up to the nearest market. But I think more concentration should be on the food, what we consume. It is when you have the energy to work that you can think right. An hungry man, don't forget, is an angry man.
I would like to correct you there. I'm not Chiamaka, I'm Adeswa. And now
Okay,
to the next
apology.
question. Do you think this this increase in prices of soft drinks is also bringing about people going to get alternative sources such as maybe like Zobo and any other kind of drink that is locally made, talking about the Zobo and Tiger Nuts, so to speak. Do you think that would be a way to go given the increase in price in soft drinks as we have it now?
Okay, this one, I have this to say that those other areas you're even going, it's not cheaper when you look at it. I'm sure if you visit any of the eatery to buy a Tiger Nut of the same size with the other soft drink that we're talking about, I'm sure the prices ranges between 600 to 700, and while you buy a soft drink for 200 and 300, it gives room for creativity. But at the same time, I have this to say that the cost of operation in producing some of those things cannot be compared with the global giant multinational company that are producing the soft drink. Don't forget the economic scale that those other big companies will be using compared to the small one. Zobo, producing Zobo and those other ones are good. At least it brings out some of the entrepreneur that we have. But there's a concern. The cost of producing those things cannot be commensurate to the large scale organization that we have. And that's why some of those things are not cheap when you want to buy them. I'm sure an average of Zobo now that you want to buy in a restaurant or anywhere you want to buy it will range between that 200 to 300. And for Tiger Nut, it's about 600, 700 for you to consume it. It's about the cost of production, because things that needs to go into the processing are not things to easily come by. And that's why we're saying that government needs to put certain infrastructure in place. You can imagine if you are producing some of those things, Emma, the cost of producing here locally cannot be compared to somebody that is bringing in some of those products from outside the space. That's why you see a lot of the things that we can produce locally are being imported, even though the high cost of foreign exchange might take it higher, but you still discover that it's more economical bringing those things in when compared to producing locally, because other factors of production that we should have maximized here seems to be on the other side of increase.
All right. Now, so how would you say this increase in prices has impacted the Nigerian economy? You know, I'm talking about the low-income earners. How has this increase in price affected them?
It has really affected immensely, I must say negatively. A lot of families struggles to feed their loved ones these days, and a lot of begging outside the street. And above all, it has increased the pace of criminality. You know, I said something the other time that an hungry man is an angry man. Most of the time these days, we discover that a lot of people enter into depression because they cannot even feed their family. They are not asking of the other thing. If you look at Abraham Maslow needs of hierarchy, food seems to be one of the priorities that we are supposed to give. And in the developed clime, they are not things that people joke with. You see a lot of food banks around maybe where you stay, where you live, where you can have access to cheap food. And that's what we are lacking in this country. A lot of people are going through a lot of things, and that's why you're saying high level of depression in the environment, high level of criminality. People now resort into hijacking things all because they want to feed themselves, which is really not too good for our economy. As we speak, the impact of the increase in the price of goods and commodity, most especially food, has affected the growth. Most people struggle to even make ends meet, not to talk of now going other way to get other basic needs. It's when you eat that you think of where to sleep. Most people are even struggling to eat, not to talk of having one of the basic needs that is expected, which is accommodation. Food is very fundamental because it is on that premise you can do a lot as an individual that must move on.
We see that. Sorry to take you back on this aspect. I think we've addressed it before, but talking about other alternative drinks, you know, like Zobo, which is locally made, you know, because most of all this soft drinks, they are imported. Now, isn't that giving Nigeria another, you know, area to look at, you know, with regards to, you know, the purchase of other drinks like Zobo? I mean, I had a Zobo drink yesterday and it cost me just 100 naira. And it's even more nutritious and more, you know, it's even better for my health, you know. So now, shouldn't Nigerians, you know, look into that direction? And what is the long-term implication of going that way?
Yeah, it is a fantastic thing, and I think with the price that you seems to be hands on. Although I don't know where you got that from, but if you have that as cheap as that, it's very good. But I know that an average person that has gone into production of some of these things has complained about the cost of production, the cost of even logistics of moving some of those things, whether the raw material for them to process and even the finished product to where they will sell it. And it has been a struggling thing. You see, if you are developing it in a small scale, maybe for people around you, you might say it's viable. It's a good thing to start small, but what is the access to some of the raw materials that you can easily access and grow over time is the challenge that I'm faced with, because the cost of production as we speak currently is not easy to come by. But if it is something that the government can make provision of certain things in terms of power, in terms of infrastructure that will assist every entrepreneur into that business to grow, it's a good thing because it will develop and enhance our production and capacity of which we can start, you know, moving up in the nearest future to the West African country as we scale up. But I have this to say that the cost of production is not an easy thing to come by, and that on its own is impacting. I'm sure the one you consumed yesterday might just be within the locality, because when you talk of even the cost of bottling that particular product in a more hygiene way. I'm sure they are not things that are easy to come by. So those are the basic things that we need to actually put in place if we must actually make an entrepreneur to succeed in all that they are doing.
How would you say the Nigerian government's economic policies, such as the forex restrictions and excise tax and all of that, how has it contributed to this increase in commodities such as soft drinks in Nigeria?
Yeah, the government policy, when they were bringing it out on excise duty, made that thing to be a luxury product, which is meant for those that are high up there. Like I said the other time, it's the elites that have actually eaten well. They want to consider some of those carbonated and high network drink. For an average person, he wants to eat and take water. And that's why you will not see them, putting so much, increasing the excise duty on the production of or imposition of water. So they know that majority of some of this carbonated drink that we're talking about, it's meant for the high network people. And it's a way of raking in more taxes from the high-end people to take care of the lower income earners in satisfying some of their needs. On that alone, it's a way to balance the taxation process, which is fantastic. But at the same time, you discover that those things are meant for are not consuming. It is those people that the product are strictly not meant for that are looking for a way to have it, and they are even paying to subsidize for the elites. That's the challenge. It's a good policy, at least, to make sure that those high-end network people pay more for an average citizen who are of the lower cadre to benefit from it. But reverse is the case. They seems to be shying away from it, and it is the lower earner that are actually doing that, which make it counterproductive of the policy that is actually being brought out.
Right now, is there a risk of increased black market activities and illegal commodity trade due to this price hike?
Of course, that will definitely come on board. A lot of people try to bypass government regulated areas to make sure that they have some of these products coming. I'm sure you and I understand that our borders are very porous, even though the government is making every swing to see how they protect those integrity. But as we are covering one today, another area is being exposed to some of these vices that allow you to bring in some of those products that are even not allowed in the country. And then those of the Standard Organization of Nigeria and the NAFDAC, how much of it are we, they seems to be overwhelmed in regulating some of the activities of people bringing in, drinks that are really not are meant to be consumed in the country. And above that, a lot of time when some of these things are actually shipped into the country, you discover that they've adopted means of which NAFDAC is actually working to uncover and limit those other areas of actually changing the expiration date of some of these things, which is quite terrible to the health of an average citizen. So I feel that we need to call the regulatory agencies that are meant in regulating and monitoring the activity of some of these imported drinks to make sure that they actually meet the specification and they do not cause more harm or damage to the health of an average citizen.
Do you see any potential signs of relief in the horizon, or, are we likely to continue in this manner, or are these prices likely to come down anytime soon?
Yeah, with some of the policy being put in place by this new administration, if they can follow it to later, I think we should have light behind the tunnel. The first area to address is when you come in terms of security. A secured environment is a prosperous environment. If you are able to have security guaranteed across board, of which we no longer have an issue of the farmers and the herders having a clash in producing food security, food supply, you discover that food scarcity will be a thing of the past. And if you're able to have security, moving it from where it's actually being produced to where it's to be consumed will be minimal. People can now travel at night, move during the day, to move some of those finished products without perishing it. Don't forget, I can tell you this, that a lot of wastages because of high level of insecurity and challenges that some of these people face when they are trying to move those things. So I think if government is intentional with some of the policies that they are carrying out, and also considering the area of security to improve on it, we should get out of the wool of this high level of food supply and go back to the old position where food is made affordable to every common man.
Well, now, do you think that, local production of key raw materials, such as sugar, would that help in mitigating this challenge of increased prices?
Of course, currently, I'm sure you know we have a lot of industries that are into the production of sugar. Well, you ask yourself, are they meeting the demand of some of these manufacturers? The answer is no. They still go all out to import some of those products called the sugar that you're actually talking about. If we are able to maximize and increase on larger scale the production of some of these raw materials, which serve as input in the production of the carbonated drink, it might go a long way to reduce some of those things. But don't forget, you must put into consideration the cost of production. If the current status is being maintained over time, you discover that the cost of producing some of those sugar, which serve as a major input, may not be competitive to the imported sugar that we are all talking about.
Use that same idea with regards to recycling. You're talking about the packaging and all of that. Can we go the way of recycling so that we have a reduced price in the markets, basically, since if that issue of packaging is out of the way, then of course the prices would come down. Do you think that's a way to go?
Yeah, it's a way to go, and I think Lagos State is already working in line with that, where we have separation of some of the things we use these days. You have the rubber, plastic set aside. You have this other one set aside, at least so that when you are processing it, they recycle and they reproduce it. It's something that will enhance the reduction in the cost of production. But at the same time, that's just packaging is just one aspect of the production. The major inputs into producing those things are the major focal point, and that is sugar, carbonated one, of which I feel that we should intensify more. Since we have the raw materials for processing local here, we should increase the capacity so that we can meet the demand of the manufacturers of some of these drinks that we're discussing.
All right. Now, let's just take this last question before we go into the currency market. Are there any technologies emerging, that can help, basically the soft drink industry, to reduce their reliance on imported materials?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I have no idea. But you see, if you're even going to bring those technology, I'm sure on the short term, it will be capital intensive. Maybe on the long run, it might be something that will be worthwhile. And I think that is why we are not having so much pronouncement. Pardon me, it's not really my core feat, but I've not heard about modern technology of producing some of this carbonated drink. And if you have to do, it's something that I'm sure the initial cost outlay might be huge. Maybe you start recuperating some of those things or on a long-term basis, even for medium term. those technologies that actually cover some of those things like that do not come cheap. So they'll definitely, because the Western world, the way and manner they're actually growing, there will definitely be technology in that aspect. But I'm sure the cost might not be something to easily come by for an average entrepreneur in the country on short-term basis. Maybe on the long run, when they consolidate, it can be something that will be of gain even to them.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Sesan Okunade. Now, let's go to the currency market. We see that on Friday last week, being the last working day of the previous week, that's on the 19th of January 2024, we see that the US dollar was buying at 890 naira and selling at 891, while the pounds was buying at 1,128 naira and selling at 1,129 naira, while the euros was buying at 968 naira and selling at 969 naira. That's at the parallel market. But as of today, being the 22nd day of January 2024, we see that the USD has increased drastically and now is buying at 1,350 naira and selling at 1,360 naira, while the pounds is buying at 1,750 and selling at 1,800 naira, while the euros is buying at 1,440 and selling at 1,460 naira in the parallel market. Now we can see this drastic increase from the previous week, compared to this week. Now, what are your first thoughts about it, Mr. Sesan?
Well, the pressure for the foreign exchange keep increasing because of a diverse area where foreign exchange is actually being used. A lot of people currently, you discover that medical attention are actually swift of leaving the country to the other area, and you don't pay in naira, you pay in foreign exchange. Some of our consumables are being imported. The manufacturer requires foreign exchange to get some of those things done. A lot of you and I are jabbering. When they jabber, they are not going with naira, they are going with foreign currency. A lot of people that are having online educational program, they are not paying in naira, they are paying in dollars. So you discover that the pressure that we have on foreign currency because of the activities and services that we're actually requesting for them is not commensurate to the outlay where they talked about what we contribute on the long run. How much things are we actually producing that is earning us the foreign exchange? It's only the aspect of crude oil as a nation. Even individuals and in the individual actually put pressure in buying, and we are not generating enough. Only very few people are actually working down here and are earning foreign exchange. You can't it's not commensurate to the expenses that we are actually making when in terms of people sit at the comfort of their house, they are buying wig in so much dollar, they are buying so much thing online. Those things too are actually affecting our foreign exchange market. And that's why we've said, not only the government do we blame, we know our politicians has not done it the way we want, but I think on our part, we should look for a way to see how we patronize some of our local made product in order to reduce the pressure that we have on foreign exchange.
I was going to ask you what policy changes or interventions you would recommend the government to put in place to ensure that the naira is stabilized basically, and also to protect our consumers. But if you would like to answer that, I would like to hear your thoughts. What are the exact policies that the government should put in place to ensure the stability of the naira?
The policy should start from a policy of we patronizing locally made products, and not just that alone, the intentional idea of government making sure that infrastructure and other things that you need to, that enhance production is reduced drastically. I'm sure you know the cost of diesel and cost of petrol these days, and that's another input into production. Even your organization has won. A lot of things are actually put in place to make sure that you have power. And power is key and germane. So government should be intentional in making sure that we have activities that can enhance production locally. And let's have a policy where we have our National Orientation Agency encouraging the patronage of local-made products that will assist deliverables, in some of the things. A lot of people, how many times have you heard the leaders of those other foreign developed countries go outside their shore in terms of education, in terms of health policy? They do everything within their domain, and we should start promoting that in such a way that our doctors are here providing medical services to our leaders, not that they have to fly out. And with that, we can empower our currency and be able to exchange better than what we have currently. Production should be encouraged. We should look for a way to create a relief on some of the manufacturing companies and create the enabling environment for them to succeed. I think I want to give kudos because the area of fiscal policy is being worked on by this administration. It may not be an immediate gain, but I think on the long run, it will be beneficial in terms of taxation, in terms of other fiscal policy that they are currently working on.
Now, would you say that global factors such as the war in Ukraine, the rising global inflation, the U.S. monetary policy, and all of this are some of the challenges, mitigating the Naira performance?
Well, it is on one side, and on the other side, I don't think the global issue should affect us if we are intentional about doing certain things that are meant for us. If we are producing things locally within ourselves, is a gain for us because we'll be having an exchange of currency within our domain, and it is things that are of maybe high class that you think that you want to patronize, and those will come at a very high exorbitant price. So whatever is happening in the global space in terms of currency may not have a significant input if we are intentional about doing some of the things that we have locally. And I think that is the direction that the government should be looking at to make sure that we improve and increase what we are producing and we patronize them. And that must start from our leaders.